Training aids are one of the best ways to influence skills and speed, and tempo trainers are one of the best training aids available. Why? Because they allow us to manipulate one of the most important variables for creating speed, stroke rates. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. If you've tried to use stroke rates during practices without the use of a tempo trainer, I'm sure you've realized just how difficult that is to do. And if you've used stroke rates with tempo trainers, I'm sure you've seen the positive impacts that are possible. Training aids are so powerful because they allow us to influence skills in ways that are otherwise impossible. And when it comes to stroke rates, tempo trainers are one of the best ways to make change happen. And because stroke rates are so important, that means tempo trainers are one of the best tools to help swimmers improve. Let's take a look at the problem tempo trainers solve, why it works, and how to make it work. Creating speed is relatively simple. It's stroke length times stroke rate. The more stroke length swimmers have, the more stroke rate swimmers have, the faster they're going to go. And because of that simple equation, we can change the stroke rate to improve speed. And because that relationship is so straightforward, if we manipulate stroke rate, we can directly influence how swimmers create speed, which means we can help swimmers improve speed. And small changes in stroke rate can lead to big changes in speed, and that makes it a very powerful strategy. So we can use stroke rate as a learning tool to influence swimmers' skills and as a performance tool to help them use a more optimal stroke rate to create as much speed as possible. The big issue with stroke rates as opposed to stroke counts is accountability. Typically, swimmers have no idea what their stroke rate is. They may understand that it's faster, they may understand that it's slower, but that's not super useful. Whereas stroke counts can be really helpful for swimmers to get an understanding of their stroke length. If we were to ask swimmers to know their stroke length without stroke counts, well, they'd have no idea. They might be able to tell, yeah, that feels longer or that feels shorter, but again, that's not super useful. So if swimmers don't know what their stroke rate is, it's pretty difficult for us to use stroke rates to help them improve their skills. They also don't know if it changes or not. So if they don't know what their stroke rate is, they're not going to really know if it was significantly different or not. And so if they're not aware if they're creating change or not, again, it becomes difficult for them to learn. An option as a coach is to provide stroke rates to swimmers. So you can use your stopwatch, you can get the stroke rates, but if you've ever tried to do that, you know how much of a nightmare that is. First, swimmers aren't particularly consistent with their stroke rates, so even if you get their stroke rate for 2 stroke cycles in the middle of the lap, that doesn't mean that that's what the stroke rate was before or after. And it takes time. It's difficult to get the stroke rates for a lot of swimmers. And you have to remember the numbers, you have to tell the swimmers the numbers, and then you have to do that with multiple swimmers all at the same time. It becomes a logistical nightmare. And of course, if they're not getting feedback, if they don't know what their stroke rates are, it becomes difficult for them to change their skills, for them to manage their swimming. They need the feedback to know where they're at and how well they're doing. The second issue with that is that the feedback is always going to be delayed. At best, you're going to be able to tell them their stroke rate after each repetition. That might be okay if they're doing a bunch of 25s, but if you're doing 300s or something longer, the delay in feedback is going to be too long. They're not going to be able to learn nearly as well. So to make stroke rates effective, swimmers need accurate feedback, consistent feedback, and fast feedback. And that is why the tempo trainer is our friend. It gives us instant accountability. Swimmers are hearing the beep every single stroke cycle, so they're going to get instant feedback as to whether they're hitting the desired stroke rate. The beeping is also really hard to ignore, which is another way of saying it's really, really, really annoying. And so swimmers are not going to be able to tune that out. They're going to be aware of it when it's happening. And because swimmers are getting such great feedback from the tempo trainer, any additional feedback that's given by the coach is going to be a lot more effective because 1, the coach will have a sense of what's happening, but 2, the swimmer will already know what's happening. They're going to know if they're on track, they're going to know if they're off track, they're going to know if they're too fast, if they're too slow, or if they're just all over the place. And so any subsequent coaching interaction is going to be a lot more effective because the swimmer is already informed about what they're doing. Tempo trainers are great because they're also really precise. You can get swimmers to exact stroke rates. So if you want them at 46 cycles per minute, you can get them exactly at 46 cycles per minute. If you want them at a stroke rate of 1.32, but not 1.3 seconds per cycle, you can have them dialed in to that precise stroke rate. And because the tempo trainer is super easy to use, press a couple buttons and you can switch the stroke rate to whatever they need to do. So to actually get swimmers to use the desired stroke rate, it's very, very effective. And ultimately, accountability and precision make using stroke rates practical. And that's the main value of the Tempo Trainer. It allows us to take stroke rates, which are otherwise very difficult to use in training, and it allows us to use them really, really easily and really, really effectively. And ultimately, that's going to help swimmers learn more. That's going to help them swim faster. As with most strategies, stroke rates are much, much more effective when used with a plan in mind. So in terms of implementation, the first step is to pick a goal. Are you going to use stroke rates for pacing? Are you going to try to help swimmers improve their stroke length? Are you looking for stroke rate consistency? Are you trying to influence stroke timing? Whatever the goal is, have a clear goal because that informs everything else. Then pick a training context. Is it going to be a speed set? Is it going to be an endurance set? Is it a race set? Is it a skill set? All can be effective, but it needs to be clear as to what type of set you're doing. Then, based upon the goal, based upon the context, you can pick a stroke rate strategy. So I've talked about a lot of different stroke rate strategies on this channel. You can search for those. Ultimately, you need to pick one. You can have them descend at the same stroke rate. You can have them try to create as much speed as possible at a given stroke rate. You can use it for pacing. You can have them alternate the stroke rates. As long as the strategy is consistent with the goal, you're good to go. And of course, stroke rates don't have to be used during regular swimming exclusively. You can add other training aids. You can do it with drills. You can use different hand postures like closed fist. You can use different types of resistance as well. You can use the same stroke rate strategy with any task, just as you would with regular swimming. So when it comes to using a Tempo Trainer, it's all about having a clear goal and then using stroke rates to achieve that goal. And the achievement of that goal is going to be a whole lot easier, a whole lot more effective when you're using a Tempo Trainer. So this is a speed-based set with underwater kicking, and we're going to use a Tempo Trainer to help swimmers learn how to get more out of each kick. So they're going to go through this for 4 rounds. We're going to start off with 2 reps of 12 underwater kicks. So they're taking 12 kicks, and they're doing that at 0.70 seconds per cycle as their kick rate. And their goal is to get as far as they can in those 12 kicks, but they have to stay on that 0.7 seconds kick rate. Then they're going to go 2 times 15 meters. They're underwater, and they're going at that same kick rate again, but now they're trying to get to 15 meters as fast as they can. So by using the kick rate, we're challenging swimmers to create as much distance and as much speed at a given kick rate, and that requires them to kick more effectively. Then they're going to go 50 choice strong with 8 fast kicks each wall, and so they're going to be really good on the underwaters and still really strong on the swim. Then they're going to repeat that pattern for the second half of each round, but now we're going to use a significantly faster kick rate, and they're still trying to get as far as they can, and they want to see if they can match the 0.70. It's going to be hard to do at a faster kick rate, and then on the 215s, they're trying to go as fast as they can at that kick rate, and because the kick rate is faster, they should be able to go faster. Another 50, another great 8 kicks off each wall, trying to go stronger on that 50 choice. I'd rather drag socks to put a little bit more pressure on the ability to create propulsion, even rounds, no equipment. The value of the Tempo Trainer here is it's going to be very difficult for swimmers to hit those exact kick rates if they're just trying to feel it, if they're just trying to manage it. They have to know where they're at, and they need the feedback, they need the accountability. This is an aerobic freestyle set, and we're using the Tempo Trainer to set their pacing. So what you can do with the Tempo Trainer is you can have it beep, say every 15 seconds, every 35 seconds, whatever you want, and you can have them set it so that it's beeping on the pace that they're trying to hit. So they're going to go 3 200s freestyle. They're trying to hit the same pace each lap. So let's say they're trying to go 2 minutes for a 200 example. If we're going long course, that's going to beep every 30 seconds. And if we're going short course, it's going to beep every 15 seconds. And again, the goal is not to beat the beeps. The goal is to swim at the exact same pace the whole time. Most swimmers really struggle to swim at an even pace. They tend to go out faster and then come back slower. So this can be really useful for helping them understand what even split pacing actually feels like. Then they'll take the Tempo Trainer off, they'll go 200 freestyle, and they're just trying to go faster than they did on those 3. We're going to repeat that same pattern for 3 150s and then a 150 and then 3 100s and 100. As they go through and the distances get shorter, they can increase the pace, and that means they're going to have to swim faster for each repetition. So the goal here is to use the Tempo Trainer to give them really clear feedback throughout their repetition, whether they're staying on the pace. And again, that's not going to be something you can do without the Tempo Trainer, which makes the Tempo Trainer a really valuable training aid. This is a breaststroke set, a little bit more geared towards speed and speed endurance. So what they're going to start off here is 625s at 200 stroke rate plus 0.2 seconds per cycle. It's fast. And so what that means is whatever their average 200 stroke rate is, in seconds per cycle, you're going to add 0.2 to that. So it's going to be a little bit slower than 200 rate. And then they're going to go 325s at 100 stroke rate plus 0.2 seconds per cycle. That's also fast. And then they're going to go 25 breaststroke fast. So they can only use so much stroke rate. They're limited by that. So in order to go faster, they have to figure out how to swim longer. So this set is not only a speed set, and depending on the intervals you use, it could be a speed endurance set. You're challenging them to swim better, because they're trying to swim faster, but they can't move their arms faster or their legs faster, so they have to swim bigger in order to create more speed. The second round will drop the stroke rate down, so now it's the racing rate plus 0.1, and they're still trying to go as fast as they can, but they're still limited by the stroke rate, but the stroke rate's faster, so they should be able to go faster. The last round, stroke rate's a little bit faster again, they should be able to go even faster. So it's a great way to work on speed, speed endurance, and skill at the same time. And because those stroke rates are really precise, we need the tempo trainer to make sure they're at where they need to be. And because they're going to be trying to go fast, they might start to cheat that a little bit. They need the tempo trainer to make sure that they're keeping their stroke rate where it needs to be so they can go faster by creating length and not more stroke rate. For more on how to use stroke rate to help swimmers improve their skills to improve their speed, check out the video below.